Hi, everyone. My name is Jordan Fouts. I am with Arcserve. I'm the demand generation marketing manager, and I'm going to be running today's webinar with our own Stacy Budd, one of our principal engineers. He's going to be walking us through OneXafe. Looks like there's still a number of attendees filing in, and so we just wanted to give everybody a chance to get in and get settled. And um, So we'll be starting at the top of the hour and look forward to getting going here. Hello, hello. Looks like a number of you are settling in, and so we're just very happy. Want to thank everybody for joining us today. It's a great discussion about really one of our flagship products, the OneXafe appliance. We're real excited to learn some of the ins and outs of the product, what it can do. Uh, we're going to cover some use cases and really understand some of the deeper, like real world applications for OneXafe. Um, the title of today's discussion, a little February theme, Love Your Data by Protecting It with OneXafe. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and turn the time over to Stacy Budd. He has a very deep and extensive background in data protection. He's been with us for some time. I'll give him a minute to kind of reintroduce himself, and we'll go from there. Today's format, we're just going to kind of give Stacy the floor, and normally we have some kind of preset seed questions or some talking points, but really we're just going to start talking about the product, and this is going to be the most deep and rich conversation possible if you guys are asking questions, and then we can kind of guide the conversation that way. So again, thank you everybody for being here. Very excited about kind of showing off what OneXafe can do for its users. Stacy, you want to go ahead and take it from here?
Thanks, Jordan. And welcome everybody. Again, we do appreciate you taking time out of your day to listen to us talk about our technology here. As Jordan said, we do want this to be kind of an open format, so please post your questions. For some reason, I can't see the questions today, but Jordan can kind of, as we're going, if it's on the topic that we're talking about, of course, right? He can go ahead and just interrupt, and we'll ask those, or we'll answer those questions as we go through everything. I've been working with Arcserve for either directly or supporting them for over 15 years now. I hope that's going to relate to you, somebody of some good technical knowledge and can relay a lot of information, but we try our best, but we always can't answer everything. So, in some cases we may have to get the answers back to you later. Okay, as far as that goes. So we'll be talking about data, right? And it is the lifeblood of, well, I wouldn't even say modern business. As long as I've been in the industry, it's been, key there as far as that goes. We do recognize, and I don't think I really talk to anybody that doesn't recognize the explosion in data. We always say data is growing exponentially year over year, and we just can't imagine that it's going to continue to grow the way it does. But when we look at 90% of the world's data has been produced in the past 2 years, that's just mind-boggling to me, right? And we do need to have a method to protect that data. And there's obviously different ways we protect that data, by backing up the data, having redundant hardware and stuff that the data's on, and all of that as well from that perspective. But it does need to be, a way to protect that data. 95% of businesses, do decide to need to manage their unstructured data, right? And that being a challenge to that. When we talk about unstructured data, file data, data such as that, right? When we look at the other side of this, right, what's the big concern, to data? A lot of times, I would say 90% of the time when I talk to people, the number one concern they have is ransomware, right? Some type of malicious act to either encrypt or delete or make it so that a user cannot access their data, right? When we talk about that, the number one cause for data loss doesn't tend to be ransomware. This is the interesting thing. It's actually user error, some type of user involvement. That's the day-to-day stuff. I need to restore this file. I need to restore a Office 365 account that actually accidentally was deleted, something like that, right? So that's the day-to-day stuff. Unfortunately, when it comes to ransomware, it has the bigger impact because it's organization-wide typically, right? So it's hitting, all of your data, not just one user's type of data. So, and of course now you're trying to recover from, just instead of one user's data, you're trying to recover your whole infrastructure and those kind of things. 37% of businesses, were hit by ransomware in 2021. And, when we take a look at, uh, the cyber attacks per week, right? It's growing, again, it's growing more and more, it's more prevalent than ever, right? Top targets, education, government, healthcare. I always think that's funny because, those may be the top targets, but really anybody can be hit with ransomware. And the data, in one organization of you know Fortune 500 organization, maybe the dollar amount is bigger, but the impact is no less, if you're a smaller business or something like that as well, right? But at the end of the day, what do we talk about? There's more data out there that needs to be managed, protected, and at the end of the day, needs to be able to be recovered as well. So what are we talking about when we speak to our OneXafe device? Well, it's a scale out storage device. Okay. Put very simply, this looks like it's a traditional NAS from a management perspective. However, it's using object-based storage, easy to use, easy to manage, giving you all the benefits of object-based storage with the management ease of use of the NAS front end. Okay. We're not using RAID in this because it is, again, it's using object-based storage. So it does have the ability to do what we call RF2 or RF3. So multiple, can sustain multiple failures within there. It does also handle inline deduplication and compression. Does have the ability to do continuous data protection or snapshots every 90 seconds. And I would say that's typically one of the big use cases of this is those snapshots, being able to roll back that data in case anything happened. The data can be encrypted at rest, so encryption at rest. And you can also scale out this device, so supporting, in a ring architecture, multiples of these. It'll detect the units as they get added to them and automatically add them to the ring and spread the data across the ring. When we talk about that CDP, well, what's that helping with? That's helping with ransomware protection, right? Because if somebody were to access the share and be able to delete, be able to promote a snapshot backup, right? You can always just roll back individual data out of that snapshot as well, or you could promote the entire share and redo it that way too. You can also replicate between multiple sites with these, right? And then also, fault domain protection and those kind of things too, right? What are kind of the advantages of a traditional NAS? Well, number one, the reason why we have NASs, right? They're just easy to deploy, easy to put out on the network. Anybody can access them from a perspective of, the shares, right? And leveraging that. So either the UNC or NFS share, right? Or from that perspective. So being able to have that data out there easily for you to access. Okay. And then at the end of the day, right, it's still object-based storage. It has that front end and that use case that looks like it's um, a NAS to your users, but then you get to manage it like it's object-based storage because it is. Okay. So scale out and object-based, what are we talking about here? Number one, advantage to this, I hit on this before, it's that continuous data protection, snapshots taken to preserve that original copy, and you're gonna set up within that share a time frame, right? 1 year, 3 year, maybe it's 1 month, maybe it's 1 week, whatever. I would say always do at least 90 days, right? Studies show that when there are bad actors on your network, they're usually there for at least 3 months before they actually act on any of the information that they've been gathering. Okay. And as part of that, right, time period, they may be doing different things to your network or different things like that. So from a minimum, you always want to make sure whenever you're protecting your data or any of that, you're always going at a minimum of 90 days. Okay. I would probably make an argument for 180, but that's just maybe me being a little bit over cautious. From a scale out perspective, you can have up to 7 units in a ring, okay, with up to 12 18 terabyte drives in each, okay. And then you can always just start with 1 unit and add additional units to the ring, scaling it out and growing it as you need to. We'll talk about the size of those units in a moment. Utilizing the replication factor, so RF2, RF3, okay? Now this would replicate the data across units in the ring, across drives in the units, okay? RF2, RF3, think of it as 1 drive failure, 3 drive failure, excuse me, two drive failure, 1 drive, 2 drive failure. Or I say drive, but we could also sustain unit, losing a whole unit in a ring, or maybe even 2 units out of the ring, depending on how large the ring is, of course, to be able to do that. So having that redundancy within the unit to be able to scale out and give you that protection. And then it uses, standard NFS SMB protocols in order to connect to it. So, fairly straightforward from that perspective. A lot of people don't like to use SMB on the network nowadays. Totally get it. Roll it out as an NFS share, right? From that side. Okay. So you can definitely do that. So we talk about the ring again. The ring can be, up to 7 nodes right in that cluster. Okay, giving you that scale out kind of piece as far as that goes. Each cluster does act as its own unique platform, so you're gonna see it as an individual ring. Okay, and then you'll be able to see the different nodes in that ring and be able to do all that from the management side of it. Okay. Nodes can be added to the cluster up to 7 in there, right? So we can just add a node to the cluster and grow it. All right. I did skip the one about disk can be added to empty drive slots and chassis non-disruptively. Obviously, if you're hot swappable, those kind of things, right? As far as that goes. And I did hit on the fault tolerance of that, again, the RF2 or the RF3, giving you that different level of failure for the units as well as for the drives within there. Okay. We do offer, up to a 5-year support with that. I'd always say buy 5-year support. Typically, that's a lifespan of most hardware. If you have most of your hardware contracts out there, you're usually talking about changing it out every 5 years. In some cases, you try to get every last minute out of that. So you might be able to, of course, renew that support after that fact. But I always recommend that on hardware, right? You look at, getting that full 5-year support contract with it and maintenance contract with it. Okay, but you can get 1 and 3-year as well. When we look at the different models that we have for the OneXafe, number one, we have, a 96 terabyte unit designated by the 4512-96. Okay, then we have a 144, and then of course we have a 216 terabyte. Now this isn't the final number. What this means is that's the raw capacity of the box. Okay, and when you look at these, right, first off, the first 2 aren't fully populated, right? The last one is. The 216 is fully populated with 18 terabyte drives. The smallest one, the 96, has got 12 terabyte drives in there. And when you build out a ring, you'd want to add like size units to that. If you go to and add a larger unit to the ring, it's not going to take advantage of that extra space. So you want to make sure you plan that out. Talk to me or somebody on my team. We can we can assist with the sizing piece of that. And then also remember, right, these are raw capacities, so 96 terabytes. If we're going to do RF2, we're going to cut that number in half, so you're going to get about 48 terabytes. And then, of course, you don't want to fill a unit all the way up, okay? That's a rule of storage. You never take your storage all the way to max because you'll notice your performance starts to degrade after that. So again, talk to us about sizing as far as that goes. And if you're doing a single unit, right? You may not want to do RF2, you may want to do RF3, which further cuts that down as far as that goes. So, as always, do make sure you work with us. These do
Right.
work within the cluster best if they are, on a 10 gig network. So I would have them that recommendation as well. And they come with copper or fiber. Jordan, where are you gonna?
Oh, yeah, yeah. I was just going to chime in. We did get a question from the gallery here. What speed hard drives can you get? That was, I figure while we're talking specs here, we're looking at some of the different versions of OneSafe.
Yeah, I believe these
Uh,
are 7200 SAS drives. I'm pulling that from memory though. I don't have the BOM in front of me, the build order, but I believe there's 72 RPM drives in there. We did at one time have a SSD version of this, but it was in name only. We never actually had anybody want to buy one. So, um, so today it's just SAS drives that are in these.
Perfect. No, thank you. Appreciate that.
Absolutely. And then when we look at the max cluster capacity, right? We see that we start with 96 terabytes and we go up to 672 on the 96 model. But remember, again, we're cutting that number down as far as that goes too. And in some cases, if you're a really, really large organization, you may have more than one ring, right? As far as that goes. So, you can definitely deploy out multiple rings of these as well. I go into a lot of companies and they just deploy a single unit, right? So although we're talking about these larger numbers, remember if I'm putting backups or different things like that on the storage, right, I can quickly eat that up. And if we're talking about, you know, um, RF3 on a single unit, 96 terabyte unit, you're dropping that down to the mid 20s, right? 25 terabytes or so, as far as that goes. Again, that number's off the top of my head, but it's just making sure you're not filling it all the way up from that perspective. Okay. About 70, 75% full is about as full as you normally want to fill any storage goes. We're going to go through some use cases. The continuous data protection, we've been speaking about that a lot. The dedupe appliance itself, going through and giving you the ability to, especially if it's being used as something like a repository for your file data and those kind of things, being able to, of course, use less space from that perspective. Backup target, right? We'll go through some detailed kind of use cases. Is it being a backup target? That's part of our business right here at Arcserve, is, backup business continuity from that perspective. So, absolutely, it's how we pair it a lot of times, but we do have quite a bit of customers that aren't using these for backup targets at all. They're just using them for, file server consolidation, a place to put out their file data and their unstructured data and those kind of things as well. So we'll definitely give that an example. This does not need to sit behind an Arcserve environment. We'd love it if you did, but definitely, it doesn't need to do that specifically. So in summary, before we get into the use cases and all of that, um, really, with it having that NAS front end, okay, really makes it, easy to use, flexible, right? But then it has those um, advantages of the object-based storage, right? So the easy to scale out, those kind of things from that perspective. Okay. And again, it is highly scalable, easy to scale these out within the ring. and that distributed file system, right? Making that single pool of storage, just adding units to them, up to 7 units within there. We do tout this as ransomware protection because, it is doing those snapshots every 90 seconds, and those snapshots and the access to the actual management of those is sitting behind multi-factor authentication, user console, so it's not exactly easy to get to the management piece of that. Okay. I always say we should always take best practices, right? I don't name a share, oh, this is my, snapshot share, you can't get to it, ha ha ha, those kind of things, right? You always use some common sense as far as that goes. In fact, I don't even like shares having the Arcserve name on them. I don't like shares having, the technology behind them mentioned or anything like that, just in general, right? As a general rule, because if somebody is browsing the network and they just see it as a share, they may just take it at face value of that. Okay. And again, the diverse use cases for that, we haven't really gone into depth on those, but again, giving you all of those that we're about to um, access. From a security perspective, since there are no APIs, right, there's less risk. It's just a share sitting out on the network for your users as far as they're concerned. Okay. And from a cost perspective, you're getting the benefit of object-based storage at a lower cost, right? So that's always, if I know of anybody, everybody's generally interested in cost. I live in this magical world. I tell customers all the time when I'm presenting to them, I live in a magical world of technology that I can give all the best things and recommendations, but I don't have a budget. I have an infinite budget. So you as a customer, you're definitely going to have budgets out there that you need to figure out, okay, what's the best way to spend that budget, protect my data, right, securely and all that as well. So um, being the fact that this is a good economical solution should help you out as far as that goes. As far as the Arcserve as a company and what we kind of manage, from we're in the smallest, if you can imagine, footprint customers out there. Our uh, product set follows all the way down to like an MSP model, right, or customers with just single kind of servers kind of environments or even workstations, all the way up to you know environments that are enterprise environments from that perspective. So we have solutions that scale that from a perspective of where this box sits. I know it says that it's in the mid enterprise. I would put it down a little less than that too. It does scale up a little bit into that mid enterprise, but it also scales down into the mid market, and in some cases down into even the small business. It would of course depend on what your small business is, what your data footprint is, from that perspective as well, on whether or not that definition of small business for different companies, can be different from that side of things. So I'd say if you have, around 10 terabytes of data, you're probably a candidate for this to start looking at. Remember, because if you have data that highly changes, right? Those snapshots are gonna, mean that you're going to be storing more than 10 terabytes with that, because you're grabbing those changes and all of that as well, and depending the use case and what you're using the device as. Yeah. Getting on to the use cases for the OneSafe, the very first use case to talk to and speak to, is again what we most typically, are talking to our customers about, and that's for it to be a target to save your backups on, right? So those backups, if anything were to happen to them, that is the lifeblood for being able to survive and not have to pay a ransomware attack or some type of other event, right? From that perspective. So, making sure that you can recover those and pull those back is going to be important. And again, yeah, we'd love you to use this with, one of our solutions, our backup solutions, but this could sit behind something like a Veeam or a Commvault, or a Veritas, right, as well. So I'm not aware of any backup, product. Maybe if it's a direct to cloud product, right? But even a lot of those, even our own, right, still gives you the ability to do a local backup as well from that perspective. It is a deduplication device, right? So, and a lot of those vendors, right, if you use, you would typically turn off deduplication, or they recommend, hey, use a device that can deduplicate, right? And you get better deduplication overall values from doing that. Okay. Unstructured data, right? I talked to quite a bit of customers that have, you know, large footprints of their unstructured data. Maybe they're using this as a file server, right? They have a lot of file data sitting out there. A good use case for this is um, uh, police departments, right, with body cam or car cam video. A lot of that is moved to the cloud, but it takes a while to get that data back from the cloud. So what they'll do a lot of times is have a device like this on-prem, right, for active cases and different things like that that they need, that they know that they'll need to be able to access and all of that as well. And then from there, right, then they can also have it out on the cloud for long-term storage and those kind of things too. So this definitely helps with that. So any type of, when you have that, think about it, if I'm using that, my SAN, right, to store, unstructured data, it's really not the best utilization of that SAN storage. So this is a way where we can reduce our overall, or free up some of that budget, right? Because if I'm having to go out and, okay, keep growing my SAN and those kind of things, how else can I do that instead of just growing that SAN? And then if I do need to grow the SAN, then I can use it for, my infrastructure and things like that that make a lot more sense, and use a device like this to store that unstructured data.
Yeah, no, actually, Stacey, I think it'd be a great place to just kind of interject. I know that we have a case study live on our website that talked about Grimes County Sheriff's Department. They had, this may not be like perfect use case for everyone who's with us today, but they had some body cam video that needed to be put somewhere, needed to be stored. It really did come in handy for them as they were able to kind of like recall that and use it for their protection in those cases where there was questions around the footage and what did or didn't happen. So this can really be like not just convenient, but like legally, kind of a super important component in a backup and storage strategy. So in addition to that, sorry, and I just wanted to, plug one additional thing that I was going to come in during an intermission. For everybody who joined us today, we do have a $10 Amazon gift card coming out. That was announced in the email that went out this morning. So again, thank you for all of that. In addition to that, there is going to be a random $300 Visa gift card that's going to go out to one of our attendees today. And so the $300 Visa card winner will actually also have the opportunity. Well, they're going to get the $10 as well. So they'll walk away with $310 in gift cards today. So thank you again, everybody, for joining. And yeah, that case study with the law enforcement, super, super cool.
Fantastic, right? Wish I could get in there, but I can't. All right, so thanks for mentioning that use case as well. Yeah, and quite a bit of law enforcement locations. It's quite common kind of use case that we have out there from that perspective. Okay. Another use case is, NAS consolidation, right? A lot of times companies will have multiple NAS devices sitting out there with multiple shares, right? And they're trying to manage all those different devices from that perspective. So as we kind of look at that, as that data continues to grow, you have to deploy out a new NAS because, you've already got that. So it's a new interface to manage. If it's the same vendor, okay, then it's a different interface, not a different interface, but it's still a different kind of unit that you're accessing and managing from that. So that does mean, of course, that you have these different islands of NAS devices, okay, from that perspective. And in some cases, maybe even the amount of data is too big for one NAS, so you have to, buy a new NAS, migrate the data to the new NAS, right? Then you have this older NAS sitting there and you're trying to get some utilization out of there, right? With this unit and being able to grow the actual ring and add a unit to it. Now there's always a top end to it, right? 7 units in a ring, but you're able to now manage that all as one central unit and be able to go through and see it that way from that perspective. Okay. Um, Also with replication between sites, so from a primary site to an offsite, that's just a matter of setting, do you want to replicate this share? Yes, turn on share replication and being able to share or replicate to your secondary unit, right? Your DR site from that perspective as well. Okay. So no Arcserve presentation, in my opinion, would be, a good presentation unless we talk about our unified data protection. This is our backup solution or for, mid-market and in some cases SMB. But, this is our main backup solution. We do have, our Shadow Protect solution for small business, for MSPs, right, and Shadow Safe down there as well, as far as this goes. But this is more of our mid-market product that you probably use with OneXafe. So I think it would be very good to bring up as far as that goes. Really, this slide is a reminder to me. We mentioned that if you are using the UDP solution, we did just come out with a new version, UDP 9. UDP 9 does have some nice features in it around the overall storage of your data and how to handle that. And to help with that, of course, enhancements with our SQL protection, our Oracle protection, those kind of things. This is your traditional image-based backup solution, does have global deduplication built into the software, so to intelligently, manage what data is going across the network. Does work in virtual environments, physical environments, can move data out to the cloud, right? Our cloud, public cloud, private cloud, off to tape, can move data off to a OneXafe device, right? A lot of options as far as that goes. And this could be either hardware or software from that perspective. So just letting everybody know we do have a backup solution. I think what we're best known for is backup solutions. But just do remember, right, that this is a good pairing with the OneXafe device. Isn't a necessity. Again, a lot of those police departments, they're not using, specifically our backup solutions. They're using us specifically to store that unstructured data or that video data out there. Okay, so doesn't need to be paired with this, but it's a nice pairing from that perspective. A way that kind of would look is, you'd have your applications, file servers, your enterprise kind of stuff sitting out there. You're protecting that with the UDP kind of solution, which is secured by Sophos. What we mean by that is you're protecting the backup server from being, hit with ransomware. We cover the license and the support for that Sophos InterceptX Advanced Edition that you can use on there. You don't have to, right? But we give you a license for it. We always think you should secure your backup server. Then you could take and you could move that data, right, off to, S3 or S3 compatible, data stores out in the cloud once it's backed up to that local location. You could do things like you could perform some disaster recovery out to a virtual environment, right? So you could do some DR capabilities with that as well. You could always move it out to the OneXafe device, so you'd have continuous data protection of those backups as well. So being able to roll back any changes or anything like that that occurs. And then within that, you could also replicate it over to a DR location to another ring out there as well. We do have quite a few customers, doing this as well, supporting those backup, kind of environments. And, you could take, the Arcserve piece out of this and interject, different backup vendors there. But again, we would hope that you would at least give us a at bat to show you our solution and how we kind of pair up against, competitors out there as well. All right, so for me, I mean, this is a rather quick topic to go through, storage, right, on those side of things. I'm going to go ahead and hand it back over to Jordan, unless he has any other questions sitting out there.
No, thank you, Stacy. This has been kind of eye-opening just to see not just it's not just a big fancy hard drive. It really there's so much to it, a variety of use cases, and so we're taking a look here at some of the questions around specs. If anybody has any other things that they really want to know about, we would just recommend sending us a question through the GoToWebinar interface. But I guess without further ado, we're going to go ahead and announce our winner for the $300 gift card, the $300 Visa gift card. And it looks like our winner is Conrad Brandmule. If you are still with us here, if you could just go ahead and send us a quick email, I can, or just actually send us a message in the chat confirming your presence. I mean, it looks like you're online, so it's one of the stipulations that we really need to have the person be here. So we are, really happy to have announced that. And again, Stacy, it looks like we're gonna actually give you guys back 20 or so minutes of your time. This is we don't normally let people off early. So,
well, it's usually one of my goals, right? Give everybody a little bit of their time back of their day. Everybody's busy, those kind of things. So,
yeah,
definitely,
absolutely.
as far as
It's a
that goes.
gift. So yeah, again, if you guys have any other questions, please get back to us, reach out to us. All of our contact information is here on this final slide. Our 800 number comes through to where you can ask us anything about the product. So again, we appreciate everyone's time and wish you guys the best. Keep your data safe, everyone. Take care now.